All right. Well, like Liza said, I'm here to talk to you tonight about the connection that I really felt I wanted to see made between the Harvest Connection women in Amarillo and the Harvest Connection women in Kenya. Can we get the first slide up, ma'am? Thank you. If you didn't know, we have 4 Harvest Connection churches in Kenya. One in Eldoret, one in Lodwar, which those were the only 2 names that were on that slide because those are the only ones that we went to. There are also 2 in another town named Sumbara, which is, or sorry, I got the vowels backwards, Samburu, which was way farther away, and it would have been like a full day's drive for us to get there. So what was really cool was the concept that we're the same church. We're the exact same church. We're Harvest Connection. And there's one in Eldoret, Kenya, and one in Lodwar. And as women of the church, we are all the same women. We are all made by God. We are all wives. We're all mothers and grandmothers, just like they are. We're all sisters and friends, just as they are. We're also employees, and we could be employers and a lot of other things, and they are too in their own way. And we also, because we are created by God, we have all the same needs. First and foremost, we need Jesus. We need to pray. We need to be baptized, which 3 of those pictures are baptisms that we did. One day we did 12 baptisms in the pouring rain, and one day we did 15 baptisms in the river, and some guy that was on the river's edge came and got baptized. He wasn't even part of the church group that went there. And it was awesome. It was really, really cool. We shared preaching duties and pastorship at the churches that we attended on the 2 Sundays that we were there. We all have the same need. We have the same physiological needs. We need shelter. We need homes to live in. Their homes sometimes aren't much of a home. But I shouldn't say that. Take that back. Their buildings are not much of a house, but it is a home. And that struck me really hard. For example, the picture with all of us standing in front of that home. That is a 2-room home. Each room 8 by 10. One room is the bedroom for mom and 5 kiddos, ages infant to 14. The roof does not connect to the walls. So the bugs are in, the rain is in, the weather is in. The yard is the kitchen and the yard and anything else that it needs to be. But that's their home. And that's where they live and they love and they have life. And what floored us, all of us, was the joy. They were so full of joy. Beyond shelter, food is a necessity. We did a lot of delivering food to people. And the incredible gratitude for what to us seemed like a very minimal amount of food. 5 pounds of rice, 5 pounds of flour, pound of sugar, and they were over the moon excited. To us, that maybe last a week, but they can make that last a month for their entire family. We got to serve meals at the schools that we went to. A lot of times that's the only meal that the kiddos get. So they hope to get there and they get a meal midday, and then we asked because we saw a lot of them coming into the line a second time. And it's like, are they getting seconds? And they're like, no. They fill the little dish that they have and they take it home. And that's the meal for the family for the night at home. They also are in desperate need of good water. We need water too. We're no different. I stole the one picture from the Eldoret website. The green water was what they were pulling to take home for drinking, for bathing, for cooking, for everything. And those of you that have heard Milton Jones speak, and Audie has spoken quite a bit, Harvest Connexion Amarillo has done a lot to providing wells in Kenya. I don't even know the number anymore. It's over 1,000 at least, and it may be in the multiple thousands. But providing wells and clean water is the lifeblood for these people. And they're so excited. To see the water come out of a pipe just is thrilling to them. And I remember hearing somebody speak one time about visiting a country that was in need of water and coming home and realizing that we have a faucet in multiple rooms in our homes, and all you have to do is turn a knob and you get water. And sometimes you can either turn hot or cold. You get a choice. And how outrageously upset do we get when it doesn't work? I have been in the shower when the well pump quit working. That's not a fun shower. I have also been in the shower when all of a sudden the water heater quit working. That's a very rude awakening shower. Okay? We get really comfortable. But for them, walking 5, 10 miles with a bucket to get green water, well, that's what they do. But we can provide wells to give them good water so they can be healthy. We also need resources, and we need our own health to be good and strong and vibrant for the Lord, as do they. We all have those same needs. We have the same wants in life. We want to feel connected. We want to feel part of something bigger than ourselves. We are part of Titus. We are part of Harvest Connection. We are part of Amarillo. We are part of the United States. We are part of something big. And we thrive as human beings. We thrive on connection. Our most important connection, of course, is with the Lord. But as human beings, with a human nature, we need that other connection, as do they. And they build it up like nobody's business. They can party like crazy just in their own love. They are amazing people. And the kiddos, the 2 pictures of the kiddos, I also stole those from the internet. That's a school that we did visit, and they got invited to a national music competition. And that's the little boys and the bigger boys in the pictures at the national music competition being recognized for that. The other picture is Francis B. presenting an award to one of the scouts at the high school, which is a program that they're involved in, and they do all kinds of service projects. And you know, to me, at first I thought, you're the ones who need the service projects. What are you doing? But they're still serving them, their other people. They're serving the people in their community. They're planting. They're growing crops. They're coming up with incredible inventions of how to do something better. They're amazing, and they also go for that recognition, and we do that. We have the same internal desires to be everything that God ever created us to be. We can all have the same fears that they have: aloneness, insecurity, not being safe. We have the same concerns about our family, about our community. They have those same concerns. They are people. Human beings just like us. They just happen to be on the other side of the world. And because they are on the other side of the world, there are some things that are very different. Very different. Their culture is not the same as our culture. I don't think that I would see 3 pastors sitting on the back of a motorbike here. Their native dress is absolutely fantastically gorgeous. I'm not so sure that I would go for the stack of beads and rings to elongate the neck. That doesn't sound a lot comfortable to me. But that's their culture. That's what they do. We also have a mixed culture here. We talk about, the Kenyan culture is unique, but American culture is even probably the most unique in the world because it's not just one. We are a blending of Hispanic culture and Asian cultures and all kinds of European cultures. And we get a little mix of all of that. And it's all unique, but it's all culture and it's all the same. We live in different countries that look different. I'm not so sure the camel wanted me to take her picture because she was kind of screaming at me. But the terrain is different. That particular area was up in Lodwar. It was 100 degrees every day. Okay, I'm the crazy person that thought that was amazing. I loved it. We walked around in the sand, and he's a goat herder. He's a Turkana native goat herder. They walk in that sand all day, every day, trying to find grazing for the either cattle if they've got them, mostly goats and sheep. But they go through, they traipse through that 10 miles a day, not a problem. Little ones will go 3-4 miles to get to school. And a lot of times, their footwear is not as substantial as a tennis shoe. The favorite footwear up in Turkana was Crocs. They thought Crocs were the bomb.com. So they were walking around in Crocs. The biggest problem that presented was those trees that you can see in that picture. That's an acacia tree. The crown of thorns that was put on Jesus' head was made of thorns that are very similar to those of the acacia tree. It's about a 3-inch thorn. And both Audie Waite and I have science backgrounds, and one of our drivers told us, oh yeah, the thorns of those plants are poisonous. You got to watch out for those. And we both kind of looked at each other and thought, I don't know of a single plant that actually has a poisonous thorn. And as we started to realize what he was talking about, it's when the thorns fall off the plant and they're all over the ground. And then the animals are all over the ground. And so it's not the thorn itself, it's what got deposited on the thorn. But then they're walking around in next to nothing in footwear. And I can tell you, we were walking around in tennis shoes, and that thorn can pierce my tennis shoe tread. You know what it's going to do to a simple flip-flop or simple Croc shoe bottom. We saw many people, mostly the women, without lower limbs. And most of it was because they stepped on a thorn, they got an infection, they couldn't get the assistance, and then they lost their limb because they got assistance too late. And it's simple. It's a simple thing. Get a sturdy shoe. Watch where you're walking. How many of you have ever tried to tell your 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8-year-old, watch where you're walking, and that you were successful at that? Doesn't work so good. It's the same with them. Kids are kids. They're out running around, they're playing, they play soccer like a crazy fool, and it doesn't matter. You run around in the thorns. They also have very different lifestyles. The Turkana native thought Pastor Matt's sunglasses were pretty cool. He was wearing those. And then he tried some beef jerky. He didn't think that was so cool. That wasn't terribly impressive. But he walks all day, every day, 100-degree heat. And he doesn't wear a hat. That's why I would like the sunglasses, I think. The hut in the middle is characteristic of their homes in the Turkana area. They didn't have the mud homes up there as much because they would be way too hot. They would literally bake you like an oven. The thatched homes allowed for air movement. And a home compound might have a bit of a thatched fence around it, and it would have 2 or 3 of these. One would be mama's, and one would be the kids'. So mama's bedroom, the kids' bedroom, and then the third one would be the kitchen. And in the middle would just be a fire pit, and that's where they would cook. I don't know how much you've noticed that I've just said mamas. There's a lot of mamas. There's not a lot of daddies that stick around. There's a lot of mamas doing a lot of work, a lot of things on their own. And I know we have that here too. We got a lot of mamas that do their own. And there's a little boy with the bucket on his head. I don't know about putting 5 gallons of water on my head. I think my neck would hurt really bad. But they do a good job of that. And it's pretty impressive to me, the difference in culture, and yet the procedures and the relationships and the love in the home and the chores and the responsibilities, they're all the same. They're all the same as what we have. They often have a bit of a different family structure, as I touched on, with just mamas and babies. And that's a sample of the kitchen. That room in their house was the kitchen. It's just a stone fire pit. And they could put a pot on top of that, cook some rice, cook this stuff that they call ugali. From my experience as a mom, a stay-at-home mom, and a homeschool mom, yeah, the ingredients are the same as paste, salt dough, pretty much. It's sticky, gooey, flour, mush, and it has absolutely no flavor. But it's high carb, and it's a filler. And it doesn't take very much of it, and you're full to the brim. And that's their staple. They eat a lot of ugali. And it cooks up fast, cooks up big, and you can feed a lot of people with just a little bit of flour. And even though there are all these differences, we are still the same in God's eyes because He created each and every one of us. Each and every one of us is exactly the same on the inside. My science background tells me that if I cut any one of us from stem to stern and opened it up and looked inside, and I took any one of them and did the same, the insides is exactly the same. There is no difference on the inside. And the heart that beats in us for the Lord is the same as it does for them. Their love for the Lord bowled me over. Their love for Jesus was incredible. In our terms, they've got nothing, absolutely nothing. But they love the Lord with everything they did have. One of the fun things that I got to do when I was there was on the spur of the moment, because Audie just said, "Hey, Kristen, you're a teacher. Get over here. Teach these kids something. I got to go do something else." I was like, I don't speak their language. I don't, and we were at a school that wasn't big in teaching English. So their English wasn't strong. I did not speak either Turkana or Swahili. So I didn't know what I was going to do. But what we did have in common was the language of love. And so I had them teach me. They did know I love you. And so I had them teach me Kenyan, the Swahili word for love. And then I said, okay, I'm going to teach you another one. And if you see in the bottom picture, I don't know how well you guys can see it. Yeah, that's pretty good. They're all doing this. Because this is the letter I in sign language. This is the letter L in sign language. And this is the letter Y. And you put them all together, and no, it's not Longhorns. It's I love you. And the coolest thing was that when I did that, when we would leave schools, all the kids are running out doing this the whole way. And it was so cool. They were so excited to know how to say, I love you again in another language, because love is the language of our heart, because that's what God has given us. And in that love, God has asked us to be women that are characteristic of His love. The Bible gives us 12 really solid points that we should focus on. And as I thought about these, and I've got Bible verses, I apologize that I didn't get them printed for y'all to have at your table. But I got to thinking of the people that I knew in Kenya. First, we're supposed to seek God. Matthew 6:33. But seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things will be provided to you. And I think about that in terms of their lives. They seek God with everything they've got. And then what is provided to them may not be much on our standards, but it's what they need. It's all they need. When they need it, that's what they get. Because that's what God's promise says. God asks us to love unconditionally as He does. 1 John 4, verse 7. Beloved, let us love one another, For love comes from God. Everyone who loves has been born of God and knows God. That was so powerfully evident to me in Kenya. Those women and those children and the men that were in church, they love God. They love God from the top of their head to the bottom of their feet, and with every voice decibel that they can come up with, they love God. And they love each other, and they're there for each other. God asks us to have a prayerful life. Romans 12, verse 10. I took the beginning of 10 and the end of 12. Be devoted to one another in brotherly love. Be in constant prayer. Kenya's on the other side of the world. It's tough to get stuff there. It's tough to get people there. Well, I think by the time we left here and the time we landed over there, it was 36 hours or something like that. And it was like 40 coming home. So it's tough to get from here to there. But it's not hard for prayer. Prayer goes so much farther than my feet can carry me, than my dollar can buy, than my gifts can provide. My prayer is what God calls me for. And in line with that, God calls us to be obedient. Acts 5, verse 29 says we must obey God rather than men. Some would say, they're on the other side of the world. I can't get there. Somebody else will take care of them. They can fend for themselves. I'm on this side of the world. They're on that side of the world. Maybe they'll say, I can give you a list of my budget, and I've got financial needs. So I need to keep my own money. But what does God ask? We are to be obedient to God, not to man's concepts. Family first. After God, of course. 1 Timothy 5:8. If anyone doesn't provide for his relatives, and especially for members of his household, he has denied the faith and is worse than an unbeliever. Ladies, I saw families that provided. I saw young girls, 8, being the caretaker for the babies because mama had to go to work. The young boys, as soon as they would get home from school, they took over being the herdsman for the goat and the cattle if they had them. Family was the center of everything for them. And that's important. Humility, James 4:10. Humble yourselves before the Lord, and he will exalt you. This one just slaps me upside the head every time. Because I sit in my home and I look around my home and I look at all my stuff. And then I am reminded of their homes. And they're happier than I am sometimes. I need to be more humble and more considerate and more open to what the Lord wants me to do with what he has given me, internally and externally. He calls us to have a servant's heart. Galatians 5:13 says, you were called to freedom to serve one another humbly in love. It was the joy of my life to be able to go to Kenya and to serve. And when we did our little debriefing afterwards, that was one thing that I told the leaders was that was frustrating to me is that we didn't get to a lot. And I get it, because the people there were so grateful for us to be there. They wanted to show their gratitude. So we were entertained left, right, upside, downside, backwards, forwards, and we ate and we ate and we ate and we ate, because they'd entertain and then we'd eat and then we'd eat and then we'd then be entertained again. And it was crazy. And it was like, I want to do something. I want to go dig a well. I would have rather to have gone into a classroom and been a teacher's aide and helped the 4-year-olds learn how to write. I want to go help them. I want to serve them. And that's what God is calling us to. But you don't have to go across the world to do it. I'll bet you every single one of us could walk out our front door and walk to the neighbor, and there would be somebody who needed service right there. Every single one of us. We need to have that servant's heart. Honor and respect. 1 Peter 2:17. We need to honor and show proper respect to everyone. Regardless of where they live, how they dress, how they talk, the strange food that they may eat. Honor and respect absolutely everyone. Faithfulness. 1 Samuel 12:24. Be sure to fear the Lord and serve him faithfully with all your heart. Consider what great things he has done for you. The Lord has served us in the most impactful and powerful way ever by sacrificing on the cross. He doesn't ask us to do that. He would be well within his rights to, but he doesn't. He just asks us to be faithful to him and to love. I'm not going to harp on this one because I did this, I guess, a year ago. Galatians 5:22 and 23, the fruit of the Spirit. The fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Stewardship. This one smacks me too. Romans 14:12. So then, each of us will give an account of ourselves to God. God has given each of us gifts, blessings, talents, abilities. We've got all of it. Are we using it wisely for him? I see women in Kenya who don't have resources, but are coming up with ways to be good stewards of what they do have. In Turkana, in the desert area, they've had a drought now for the last 3 years. That's why I said they don't have any more cattle, because the cattle are all dead. They don't have very many sheep because they take better food supply to feed them. The goats, they'll eat anything. So they've got goats, but they don't have anywhere near the herd size that they used to have. So the women now are taking the fronds from the trees, there's a few palm trees in the area as well, and they braid them and work them into a broom for sweeping. And they sell those. Or they braid them into a mat, because they don't have mattresses. They don't have a thick, foamy, cushy, queen-size mattress. No, they have a reed mat that they lay on. And they do that. They're using their resources and they're stewarding what they do have well. And number 12 is wisdom. Proverbs 16:16. how much better it is to gain wisdom than gold. God has made us all to be women of God, to have these characteristics, whether we are in Amarillo or in Kenya. He has made us to love. He has made us to serve. He has made us to worship with all that we are, to learn who He is. And He has made us to pray. Prayer over each other, prayer over others on the other side of the world. We are the women of Harvest, Amarillo. Here are some of the women of Harvest, Eldoret. I look at them and I'm reminded of stories. The lady in the third one from this side, she had a birthday the day we were there, and we all sang happy birthday to her, as did the lady with the green bodice in the middle. And for the lady in the green bodice, they did give her a mattress because she didn't have one and she needed something a bit more comfortable than a mat. And that was, they had a big production. They carried it up over their heads. The guys brought it in, singing the whole way, carrying that thing, and she was basket of tears the whole time. Christine's here on the end, connected with her because our names are similar. The one that's laughing in the middle, right next to me, it's fitting that she's laughing. Have some of you met Francis B? Francis B is her husband. Francis B never stops laughing and smiling. I had told him before I left I wanted a recording of his laugh because I really wanted to keep hearing it, and I forgot to get it recorded. The man never stops smiling. He's got to have the strongest smile muscles ever. And so I love this picture because Consolata is cracking up at the same time. But these are some of the women of Harvest, Kenya. And they've asked for prayer. On your table, there's some questions, and I think I made enough for everybody to have one because there's also a list of not only all of these ladies' names, but some others that we couldn't put everybody in the picture. So if you would, please, pray for them. Pray for them by name. As I get more information, I would love for us to be able to make more firm connections with them. There are women who need help. There are women who need to learn skills. There are women who need just supplies, basic supplies. Thank you.